Tommy woke up before the sun. The room was still dark, but his eyes were bright. He had been waiting for this day for weeks. Today was the school trip. They were going to visit a small old town. The teachers said they would learn about history. They would also see how people made things by hand. Tommy jumped out of bed. He put on his blue t-shirt and his sneakers. He packed his small backpack. Inside, he put a bottle of water, some snacks, and his camera. The camera was not new, but it was his favorite. He wanted to take many photos. He wanted to show them to his mom and dad. His mother came in with a smile. "You are up early," she said. "Yes," Tommy said. "Today will be perfect." His mother laughed. "Don't forget your jacket," she said. "It may be cold in the morning." Tommy put the jacket in his backpack. Outside, the school bus was waiting. Tommy saw many of his classmates already on board. He waved to his best friend, Lily. She waved back and called, "Come here!" Tommy ran to the bus and climbed in. The bus was full of noise. Kids were talking, laughing, and sharing snacks. Someone was singing a song at the back. The driver smiled as he started the engine. Tommy sat next to Lily. "I brought my camera," he told her. "I will take a photo of everything." "That's a lot of photos," Lily said with a laugh. "Yes," Tommy said. "I want to remember every moment." The bus drove past houses, fields, and trees. Sunlight came in through the windows. It touched the faces of the children. Tommy felt warm inside. He thought, "This is the best day of my life." The teacher stood up at the front. "Children," she said, "remember to stay with the group. Be kind to the people we meet, and listen carefully when someone speaks." "Yes, teacher," the children shouted. The bus went over a small bridge. A river ran below, shining in the sun. Tommy quickly took out his camera and clicked. The sound of the shutter made him happy. He could already imagine showing the photo to his parents. As they got closer to the town, the houses became smaller. They saw narrow streets and old wooden doors. Some people stood outside, waving at the bus. The air smelled fresh, with a hint of bread baking. Lily leaned over and whispered, "It smells like the bakery near my house." Tommy smiled. "Maybe we can find the shop later." The bus stopped in the center of the town. The children stood up, talking all at once. Tommy looked around, his heart beating fast. The trip had only just begun, and it already felt special. He thought again, "Today will be perfect." The children followed the teacher down the street. The air was cool, but the sun was warm. Tommy held his camera in both hands. He took a photo of a dog sleeping by the door. He took another photo of red flowers in a pot. The town was quiet. Only the sound of their footsteps filled the street. Sometimes an old man or woman would smile at them. Tommy liked that. He felt the town was friendly. They stopped at a small square. In the center was a stone fountain. The water sparkled in the sun. Tommy took a photo. "This one is for my mom," he said to Lily. "It's beautiful," Lily said. Later they visited a museum. The museum was small but full of old things. Tommy took a photo of a big clock. He took another of a painting of the town. Every time he heard the camera click, he felt happy. He thought, "I am making my own story." At noon they went to a park to have lunch. The teachers gave out sandwiches and juice. Tommy put his camera next to him while he ate. He talked with Lily and other friends. They laughed about the dog they saw earlier. When lunch was over, the teacher said, "Children, we will now visit the workshop." Everyone stood up and got ready. Tommy reached for his camera. It was not there. He checked the grass. He checked his bag. He checked under the bench. Nothing. "Where is it?" he whispered to himself. Lily saw his face. "What's wrong?" she asked. My camera, it's gone. Tommy's chest felt tight. His hands were cold. No camera, no photos, no story, he said quietly. Lily looked around. Maybe you left it in the museum, she said. Tommy shook his head. I had it here. I put it right next to me. The teacher came over. What happened, Tommy? My camera is lost, he said. She looked serious. Let's keep walking. We will look for it later. Tommy followed the group. He could hear the other children talking and laughing, but their voices sounded far away. He thought about all the photos he had taken. The dog, the flowers, the fountain, the clock. They were all inside that camera. Now they were gone. He looked at his empty hands. They felt strange without the weight of the camera. The day did not feel perfect anymore. The group walked to the next stop. It was a small workshop where people made things by hand. Everyone was talking and pointing at the buildings, but Tommy stayed quiet. He walked at the back of the line. His head was down. His hands were deep in his pockets. He did not want to see anything. Inside the workshop, the smell of wood filled the air. Old tools hung on the walls. A man was cutting bamboo into thin strips. Another was painting bright colors on a kite. The children gasped and took photos with their phones. Tommy had nothing in his hands. He kept thinking about his camera. He thought about the sound it made when he pressed the button. He thought about the photos he could not take now. Lily walked over. She was holding something small. Look, she said softly. It was a tiny windmill made of bamboo. The blades were painted red and yellow. It's for you, she said. Tommy looked at her. Why? Because you look sad, she said. This is not a photo, but it is still a memory. Tommy took the windmill. It was light in his hand, but warm. He could smell the fresh paint. He turned it, and the blades spun slowly. Look, memories live in the heart, Lily said. Tommy repeated the words in his head. Memories live in the heart. He had never thought about it like that. They moved to the next room. The roof was made of old wood. Sunlight came through the small gaps. It fell on the floor like strips of gold. Tommy stopped and looked up. For a moment the air felt different. It was quiet, but not empty. It was warm, like a hug. He thought about the old dog, the fountain, the bread smell. Even without the photos, he could still see them in his mind. The man making kites waved at Tommy. He smiled and showed a big blue kite shaped like a bird. Tommy smiled back. It was the first real smile he had that afternoon. When they left the workshop, Lily walked next to him. She said nothing more, but her hand brushed against his. He held the windmill a little tighter. The street outside was bright and full of sounds. Tommy noticed the smell of roasted corn. He noticed a cat sitting in a window. He noticed the sound of a bell in the distance. Maybe, he thought, today could still be good. The group walked back toward the center of the town. The sky was brighter now. Shadows were short. The air smelled of bread and fresh fruit. Tommy still held the little windmill. It spun slowly in the breeze. He liked the sound it made, soft, like a whisper. They reached the meeting place, a wide square with benches. The teachers told the children to sit and rest. Some kids bought snacks from a small shop. Others chased pigeons near the fountain. Tommy sat on a bench with Lily. He was tired, but he felt calmer than before. He looked around at the people walking by. An old man was carrying a basket of apples. A woman was hanging bright scarves in front of a store. Then one of the teachers stood up. She was holding something in her hands. Her voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. Whose camera is this? Tommy's head shot up. It was his camera. His heart began to race. He jumped to his feet. Mine! That's mine. The teacher smiled. An old man found it near the park bench where you had lunch, she said. He brought it here to return it. Tommy took the camera with both hands. It felt heavy and real. For a moment he almost wanted to hug it. The old man stepped forward. He was tall, with white hair and kind eyes. I saw it sitting alone, he said. I thought, this belongs to someone who cares. Tommy's voice was small. Thank you. The old man nodded. Pictures are good, but eyes are better, he said. Tommy looked at him, not sure what to say. The old man smiled. You can take many photos, but remember to look without the camera too. That is how you keep the real story. Tommy thought about the dog, the flowers, the sunlight in the workshop. Even without a photo, he could still see them in his mind. Maybe the old man was right. Lily leaned toward him. See, today is still perfect, she said. Tommy laughed. Almost perfect, he replied. Perfect, Lily said again. The teacher called, Time to go, everyone. The children gathered near the bus. Tommy looked back once more. The old man was still standing there, waving. The little windmill spun in his hand. The camera hung safely around his neck. He felt like he had just found more than he had lost. The bus was quiet when they left the town. Some children were asleep. Some looked out the window. The afternoon sun made the road look golden. Tommy sat by the window with Lily. The camera was on his lap. He touched it from time to time, just to be sure it was still there. Are you going to take more photos? Lily asked. Tommy shook his head. Number, I think I'm done for today. Lily smiled. That's new. Tommy turned the little windmill in his hand. The blades caught the light and flashed red and yellow. He thought about the workshop, the smell of wood, and the sunlight falling through the roof. When they arrived back at school, parents were waiting. Tommy's mum waved from the gate. He ran to her, his backpack bouncing on his shoulders. How was the trip? She asked. Tommy grinned. It was perfect, he said. His mum looked surprised. Perfect? That's a big word. Tommy nodded. Yes, even when I lost my camera. At home, he put the camera on the table. His mum made him a cup of warm milk. Show me what you took, she said. Tommy turned on the camera. They looked at the photos together. The sleeping dog, the red flowers, the stone fountain, the big clock in the museum. His mum laughed softly. These are beautiful, but what else happened? Tommy told her about the lost camera, the old man, and the windmill from Lily. He described the smell of bread and roasted corn. He told her about the sunlight that looked like gold inside the workshop. His mum listened with a smile. These are the things I can't see in the photos, she said. Tommy thought for a moment. Then he said, the best stories are not in the pictures. They are in the heart. He did not know where the words came from. Maybe from Lily. Maybe from the old man. Or maybe from the way the day had felt. That night he placed the windmill on his desk. It was small, but it made his room feel warm. He also put the camera next to it. He knew he would use it again. But now he would also remember to look without it. Before bed, he whispered to himself, I will keep this story forever.